What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fitness Realty channel. My name is TJ McLelland and I'm the broker. I'm super excited to share all the things we have planned with you. So sit back, strap in, and let's have some fun. What's shaking, everybody? We are here for episode 48. I have Tyson Isham with us with My Second Home Vacation Rental Management. We're excited to showcase his product, and we're just excited to meet you. So, Tyson, will you give us a little bit of background about you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I look forward to the conversation. Uh, I know the short-term rental industry is hot, Airbnb, VRBO, and it's only getting hotter despite regulations. So, little background on me. Uh, why don't we start with where I was born? I was born in Cedar City, Utah, to
Nice.
a father from Los Angeles and a mother from Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
So I had a very diverse upbringing thanks to that. You know, all my cousins and family spread throughout the West, all the way to the coast,
Wow.
and then us all the way in the backcountry. So I got a little bit of all of it.
Nice.
Yeah. They thought that was a better place to raise kids, and I don't think they were wrong. You know, I had a lot of liberty being able to ride my bike and get into just enough mischief.
Right.
Uh, yeah, so it was good. From there, I mean, a lot went on. My dad was in a band, went to Nashville. Actually, got two separate record deals
Whoa.
offered to them, but decided he wanted to follow the family path, and was afraid he'd lose his family if he went the fame route, which was
That's
probably
fair.
right.
Yep.
So, but he made his decision, and we're all still here today. And him and my mom are still together today. So
Wow.
you know, I can't say whether or not it would have 100% went south if he didn't follow through, but I can say for 100% certainty they're still together
Yeah.
and doing well, and they're my business partners today in this, which usually doesn't work, but our family dynamic is fabulous.
Yeah.
So we get along and we get things figured out. Let's see. From
Dude,
there, he owned shops.
real
Go
quick,
ahead.
that's so cool. So big congrats to your parents. And also, I run my business with my mom, which is
Very
just kind
cool.
of cool.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'd love to hear it. Um, so from there, my dad was in automotive repair as well. So he fixed cars, and eventually the opportunity came for him to open his own shop. Eventually had four different shops, and gave me my first job, I think when I was 11 or 12 years old. I wanted a Nintendo 64, and he said, I can't just give you everything you want in life. You need to learn to work. So you're old enough. Come change some oil. So he
Nice.
had me working hard at 12, and
Wow.
got to figure that out. Unfortunately, not long after that, there were some struggles with the business, and my dad just didn't know enough about business at the time. Didn't know how to stick up for himself or defend himself, which he's learned a lot since then. But at the time, it was rough, and decided to cut bait and leave it all behind. So my parents moved down to St. George
Oh,
with
gotcha.
my little brother and I started going to middle school, then high school in St. George. I actually graduated at Dixie High.
Nice.
Um, but I spent as much time as I possibly, as soon as I could drive, I spent as much time as I could with my cousins in Vegas, and that kind of became my other home. So I was always
Nice.
back and forth. Just so much I always loved about it. And I think part of it was family was there. You know, my grandparents were there until they finally retired up here to Utah, and uh, that's always been my other home is Vegas.
Nice.
So where from there? Let's see. Eventually, um, after I graduated, I would say so. I'm trying to keep this as short as I can. Actually,
It's
there's
all good.
something foundational there. So let me go back to that foundational piece. As soon as my parents came down to St. George and they no longer had the businesses, my mom wanted to help support however she could. So she walked down the street from our house. We lived in this brand new subdivision of these tiny little single family homes,
Mm-hmm.
really cute homes, uh, but not too big. I'd say they're around 12 to 1500 square feet,
Mm-hmm.
three bed, two bath. And she walked down the street to where there was a Worldmark Resort. It's actually a company by Wyndham, and it's a timeshare.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Hey, do you have any positions open? I'm open to doing anything. I'll do housekeeping. I don't care. I just need a check and help my family." And they said,
Mm-hmm.
"Absolutely. We're always taking housekeepers," which the industry usually is always taking housekeepers. There's always need for someone who can clean and clean well.
True.
And she'd always been OCD my entire life, so it was a good fit.
Nice.
Well, in a very short amount of time, she rose up through the ranks there and she became, one of their QCs. That's quality control in the industry. So they'll go in behind the housekeeping staff and check to make sure that they hit all the standards
Oh wow.
that you have for the clean. Like, did they get under the beds? Is the presentation right? Did they get under the couch cushions? Did they leave all the appropriate amenities? Is everything restocked? Is all the
Mm-hmm.
high level dust gone, et cetera, et cetera?
Mm-hmm.
So she started doing that.
Wow.
Then she became housekeeping manager. Then she became front desk manager. Then she became assistant resort manager. Then she became the GM, the general manager of the resort.
Whoa.
And uh, took her a little while to get there because of politics, that final step. But once she finally got there, she did really well. And she had the best resort in the region. Her uppers loved her and knew it, except as it always does, corporate politics played a role.
Mm-hmm.
And she got to the point where they wanted her to start traveling and get into upper management. But then she'd be traveling while my dad would be behind, and true to their relationship, not wanting to be apart so much, like my dad with the band,
Yep.
she said, "No, I'm not interested in that. I'd rather just keep running the resort." And for them, it was, either up or out. So they pushed her out,
Oh shoot.
as these companies tend to do. And as they were trying to push her out, this opportunity for getting into short term rentals came up. This is about 5, 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Some developers were making a complex and had acquired a bunch of property and asked if she would operate the short term rentals for them, because this is obviously something she knew how to do. And it made sense. It was right up her alley
Right.
because she ran the HOA of the resort. She helped form the rules of its board and how it was governed, how it was regulated. She was actually on multiple other HOA boards as well, so that really helped for the developers. She had done multiple resort redesigns, so redesigning the entire resort, which typically happens every 5 years in the hospitality industry.
Interesting.
Hotel, resort, they're always refreshing every 5 years. And overseeing the maintenance, the grounds, all the emergencies, the day-to-day operations,
Mm-hmm.
being on top of all the laws around housekeeping and proper care and guest care, et cetera, et cetera, uh, with the pools, with the hot tubs and the chemicals and the laundry and everything, just
Whoa.
on top of all of it. Um, so she did that. And while she was doing that, I kept living my life, and my brother and my father kept living their lives too, um, all working in different things. But I always knew, I would say from those, especially those teenage years,
Mm-hmm.
one, from my dad, that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Two, from a gentleman that we lived near when we moved to St. George. He helped me get my first job,
Nice.
and he impressed me so much because he was such a giving person and he was so sharing and caring.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he had all these things that I dreamed of having. He had this like 1 out of 500 limited edition convertible Porsche 911.
Wow.
He had matching Jeeps for him and his wife. Like, they had the same
Nice.
lift kit, same wheels, just different colors.
That's so
Brand new
cool.
Mercedes S Class that at the time was the car to have for sure. And he
Mm-hmm.
would swap his S Class out for the new one every year. and some other stuff like. And I thought this guy has so much, but he's not in your face with it. He just enjoys it, and yet he's constantly doing all this philanthropy.
Oh
So
wow.
not only do I want to be an entrepreneur, what I learned from my dad and what I see this guy doing, but I also want to be in that position to where I can enjoy it without worrying about it
Mm-hmm.
and focus even more on what I'm doing about giving.
Oh yeah.
So that became like a core fundamental piece of me uh, in that time.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was very impactful. So I always knew that had to be involved in my career in some way.
Nice.
So as I continued to grow and go through things, went through those teenage years, spent as much time in Vegas as I could, St. George when I had to be, and then I grew up LDS as well, which the rest of my family still is, and I 100% respect that. My beliefs are just different now. I'm still a very spiritual person,
Mm-hmm.
and I do thank those roots for a large part of my evolution to where I'm at today. So I don't dishonor it in
Yeah.
any way. I'm just somewhere else.
Gotcha.
But
Fair.
regardless, it was serve an LDS mission or go into the military. And I was leaning heavily getting into the military. That's where I like that your fitness realty
Yep.
because I wanted to be a SEAL. And because I wanted to be a SEAL, I got my pull up count to like, I think I could do like 45 straight
Oh my
nonstop at one
gosh.
point. I mean, at the time I
Wow.
weighed 155 soaking wet. So it wasn't as much weight to pull up.
Yeah, but
Uh,
still, that's a
as
lot
a
of
200
pull-ups.
pound guy, but yeah, it's a lot of movement. So, but I would just go for it,
Yeah.
walk around like this,
Right.
you know,
Yep.
because the lats
The
were so
lats.
developed.
Yep.
That was
Love
funny.
love lat syndrome.
You got to. Uh, but I was so dedicated, and I knew that's what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But there came this day where I told my dad what I was going to do, and he said he'd always felt different. He said, I think you're going to go on an LDS mission, and
Oh
I
wow.
said, I got to do what I want to do and make up my own mind. And we decided to like sit down together in what I would now call a meditation, but
Mm-hmm.
what he would call a prayer,
Mm-hmm.
and just had this amazing experience that was very visual,
Mm-hmm.
inside my head that directed me towards doing the LDS mission, which I'm grateful for because
Interesting.
it ultimately took me to Peru. I was there for a couple of years, learned about the people, learned the language, and
Wow.
absolutely love the people. In fact, I just got back from a trip to Peru a couple months ago,
Oh wow.
late December.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, we went down and spent some time in the jungle and in the Andes, and it was great.
Whoa. That's cool.
So I feel deeply connected to a lot of the people down there and a lot of cultures internationally, and a lot of it's thanks to that. And I also, pardon me, I just felt like it helped so much
Mm-hmm.
because I saw so many fathers who were alcoholics and had maybe two, three, four families in some extreme cases,
Oh wow.
lying to all of them and not really taking care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And what I liked was I was able to bring a more family oriented belief system to them that helped them kind of own up and do what they were supposed to do and drop
Nice.
the alcohol. And even if it's not the system that I necessarily follow today,
Yeah.
the principles of that system and of being a good person and and sharing love and not just leaving people stranded and uncared for. Being able to share that and put people on that correct path just meant a lot to me.
Yeah. No, that's
So
really cool.
so so that was amazing to share. And then some of the other service things that we did just really meant a lot and have gone with me through life. So um, like I saw it as a stepping stone for myself to where I'm at today, and I felt like I pulled people onto that same stepping stone I was on, and then what they do with it from there is up to them.
Yeah.
Um, but it's definitely better than where they started,
Yeah.
if
No,
that
that's
makes
amazing.
sense. At least the people that I helped.
Yeah.
So coming back from that, probably did the typical LDS thing and got married way too fast. Was pressured into it.
That happens so
Unfortunately,
frequently, huh?
yeah. And family law is not friendly, especially if you're gullible and you think people have, you know,
Right, good intentions.
good intentions,
Mm-hmm.
which I definitely was that. So it took me for a ride, and actually, well, before getting into that, during the time that I was married, I started my entrepreneurial career.
Mm-hmm.
So started going to college. Uh, Only went for a couple of years because I took all the business classes that they offered
Mm-hmm.
on the bachelor's business certificate or whatever.
Gotcha.
I kind of assumed I'd go for an MBA, but I didn't know exactly why I needed the MBA, just that that was the degree related to business.
Right.
But after I took all the associate level classes and all the bachelor level classes related to business, I went to my counselor and said, like, how close am I to this degree thing?
Yeah.
Um, and my ADHD definitely played a role here.
Fair.
My counselor said, well, good, but you have all these generals now. So now
Right.
you need to do a couple more years of all these general classes that have nothing to do with being in business or an entrepreneur.
Right.
And you need to pay us this much tuition to do it.
Oh.
And I
Oh.
thought, do I need a degree to be CEO of my own company? And there was no legal document anywhere that said in order to be a CEO, you have to have your degree.
Right.
And I thought, well, I'm going to focus on business for the time being. And if that fails, I guess I could come back to school and get a degree so I could go work for someone else. But I've always dreamed of working for myself. So
Right.
why waste the
Huge.
money and time? I'm just going to focus on my business. And I learned way more in the street
Yep.
than I did in the school.
Right. I totally agree
Took a
with you
few
on
key
that.
lessons
Yep.
for sure. Um, Few key lessons, but overall learned way more outside than inside.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I first got into podcasts, actually. So thank
Nice.
you for this.
Yep.
Podcasts,
You're welcome.
audiobooks, things like that. And I drove a delivery truck part time on the weekends. It was produce. We do these long drives, um, up to 24 hours. I'd be sitting in one seat and
Mm-hmm.
someone else would be sitting in the driver's seat. Then 12 hours in, we'd swap and knock it all out in a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that part time to help get my business off the ground. And then during those drives, I just listened to audiobooks, podcasts, everything I
Smart.
could. Then during the week, I'd go back and apply it
Nice.
and figure it all out in the real world. And built that was actually an online dental assisting school.
Interesting. That's
Yeah,
cool.
online courses, but specifically certifying people in being a dental assistant. And I got it legal in every state. Some
Wow.
states needed radiation certification, some states didn't. Some had specific other dental assisting certifications that other states didn't have. Some had up to three certifications. Most places required CPR, so I became a certified CPR instructor.
Jeez.
But
Nice.
I can only do that for the local people. For the remote people, I had to, take their tuition out of pocket,
Mm-hmm.
pay it to an instructor. Uh, but I think the real brilliant piece of that wasn't only that and packaging it in a way that they could learn online, but
Mm-hmm.
was also the, um, what did I call that? The intern program I came up with.
Oh wow.
So I thought, if I can get them to intern, like they can apply what they're learning online with the GoPro camera and everything else,
Uh-huh.
uh, go apply that with a real dentist on real patients as an unpaid intern.
Yeah.
If I send them to dentists who are already hiring,
Mm-hmm.
they're already going to be trained on how that dentist likes things done, the names he calls different things, so on and so forth. And
Right.
by the time they're done with us, they're fully certified. They're already used to working with him. He's already hiring, or she. There,
Yeah.
there, there are female dentists out there, some great ones, but they're mostly he's.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Ladies, get on it.
Right.
Um,
Opportunity.
yeah. Um, So they would then 99% of the time choose to hire that person because
Yeah.
now they had the full education, they had the full certification, everything that they needed, they were fully legal, and they'd been trained right in that very office, so they were
Right.
ready to go.
Wow,
And
that's
then
cool.
people were on their way, so they actually got their money back for their program rather than paying for some program that, great info but don't do anything with.
Right.
Yeah,
No, that's amazing.
yeah. But then that disappeared with my divorce,
Fair.
that business. But I took the knowledge and actually I formed a passion for marketing in that business.
Nice.
So I took that passion for marketing with me, and moved back to Vegas
Wow.
as an adult. I said, all right, well, if I'm going to be single, I'm not going to be single in St. George, Utah. I'm going to go where there's actually people
You're
in
right.
their 20s, you know,
Right.
people in their 20s who aren't in college,
Fair.
um, and go down to Vegas where I also have family support and everything else. So I did, and um, at the time, I worked a little bit in marketing for timeshare at
Mm-hmm.
Hilton Grand Vacations down there. I also had a very short time working marketing for the Worldmark Resort here in St. George,
Mm-hmm.
completely separate department from where my mom was the manager.
Mm-hmm.
So no nepotism, separate person doing the hiring.
Nice.
Which, fun fact for later, the person who first hired me on there is now the marketing director for our company, My Second Home.
Oh, wow, nice.
I reached out to her years later and said, "What are you up to?" And she said, "I just got done being the sales head or manager for this entire hotel group. I was done with it."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, why don't we have a conversation?
Right.
See where you're at." And here she is, and she's killing it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so proud of her. Anyway, so I did that for a short time, then in Vegas, and then I branched out and just started doing my own marketing gig. I was helping clients generate leads. I was coming up with different techniques and then teaching people how to do those as I had that course background.
Nice.
I actually had people go through my course who were very successful. One of the things that we made were these chat bots built into Facebook Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you heard of those. They were kind of getting hot a few years ago,
Yeah.
but everyone jumped on them, like Gary V and Tony Robbins
Mm-hmm.
and Grant Cardone, everybody. Well, one of my students, she had a client who was kind of in that same self-help type of space
Mm-hmm.
and built a chatbot for her client and submitted it into this competition, this marketing competition. And her chatbot took second only to Tony Robbins.
Oh, jeez.
They
That's
they beat out
wow.
Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk,
Yeah.
and all the other Ty Lopez, all the other big names that were entered into that contest.
Yeah.
And I was just so proud of her. And then she sent me a picture and said, "Hey, because of what you taught me, like I have my own flourishing business, like thanks to you.
Wow.
And today I bought my first Tesla." So she sent me a photo of her in front of her new car,
Nice.
and I said, I gave you the info, but you actually went and applied it. So
Yeah.
congratulate yourself more than me. Like I give you the info, but you actually followed through.
Right. I love it.
Um,
Took action, which is amazing.
100%, 100%. And that played back into kind of what I'd always thought I wanted to do. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I wanted to help people. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to see people win, whether that was through direct philanthropy or teaching them useful things, just like
Mm-hmm.
I did with the dental assisting and moving on down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So after I'd been doing that for a while, um, I my parents reached out to me and told me about what had happened with my mom, how
Mm-hmm.
they were trying to push her out because she didn't want to go up in the company and they couldn't just
Right.
be content with a great resort manager.
Right.
And they said, so we're starting this little Airbnb business. Airbnb, Verbo.
Yep.
For those that don't know, those are just listing platforms. You can have a vacation rental on VRBO, Airbnb, HomeAway, Expedia, Google, and thousands of other sites worldwide, all at the same time.
True.
But you have to manage it through a multi-calendar that manages the dates that are booked
Mm-hmm.
all in one location, or else you get double bookings and people get mad, and that's
Right.
bad business. So there's a way to manage it. But just so people know, like Airbnb is not an industry, VRBO is not an industry. Those are listing sites where people find vacation rentals, or also known as short-term rentals.
Gotcha.
So and then that's
Interesting.
what we do. So so they explained to me that my mom was now going to be bringing everything that she knew and all the standards. So, for example, one thing people do absolutely wrong in this industry
Mm-hmm.
is they wash all the linens in the home washer and dryer.
Gotcha.
Not only is that extra utility cost on the home, but and wear and tear, it's also wear and tear on the dryer.
Mm-hmm.
You're also providing your own linens, and those have wear and tear, and they often get stained and need to be thrown out.
Right.
And worst of all, in my opinion, is the fact that home washer dryers get to maybe 120 degrees at best
Mm-hmm.
as far as temperature.
Right.
This isn't regulated for short-term rentals yet, but even Airbnb has come out and provided a checkbox for people asking, "Do you wash your linens in at least 140-degree temperatures?"
Interesting. I did
Most of the
not know that.
hosts, yeah, most of the hosts check yes, but it's not true
Oh,
because their
gotcha.
home washer and dryer do not get that hot, and that's exactly where they're doing it. They're just checking it because they assume, they're kind of doing this as like a real estate play,
Right.
and I respect the hustle, but that's the wrong way to look at it. It's a
Right.
hospitality play. Um, uh, and that's the same way that hotels are.
Right.
Hotels are hospitality as much as they are real estate. You got to be
Oh,
smart
for
about the
sure.
building you're buying, the brand you're putting on your building,
Mm-hmm.
and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, it's not a long term rental. I'm not buying this, throwing in granite countertops, new paint, new carpets,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm going to rent it for 200 more than it was renting before, and I'm just going to let it do its thing, and
Right.
I'll replace the carpets after the next tenant. It's not like that. It's hands on. It's 24 hours a day, and there's certain standards that you have to follow, and you have to
Right.
worry about reviews, and you have to worry about how do my photos look, what's my design like. You have to worry about like what's my pricing like from night to night, and you
Right.
have to constantly be changing it on a daily basis. You've got to be raising your prices, lowering your prices according to what the market's doing, or you're missing out. You're saying no to so many dollars if you're not doing that.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
coming back to the core, as I get off on a tangent,
So good.
washing the linens, hospitality standard, legally, all these hotels, motels, resorts have to be at 160 degrees.
Whoa.
Airbnb is still a far cry from that at asking people to do 140 degrees
Mm-hmm.
because they're really only getting to like 120 at best, probably 110.
Yikes.
Hospital standards are 190 degrees.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that
So
either.
we outsource 100% of our linen to a professional linen company that washes all of our sheets and our towels and our pillowcases and our wash rags and even our cleaning rags and everything at
Mm.
190 degrees, hospital temps.
Whoa.
So you know that when you stay with us, even like you should never spot anything on the sheets,
Yeah.
because I always tell the housekeepers, I say, look, and I did the housekeeping myself for a couple of years.
Uh-huh.
A lot of it, as much as one person can do. Like we had a whole team, and I ran our whole team, but
Right.
I've had my knees dirty on the bathroom floor. I've scrubbed
Mm-hmm.
all the toilets. I've made all the beds. I've scrubbed all the kitchens.
Wow.
I know what it all is, and I know how grimy it all is,
Yeah.
and yet I still keep my standards high, and I get on them for not doing it properly. And I say, look, um, the people coming in to stay here don't necessarily know how high our standards are.
Yeah.
So even if there's the smallest stain on the sheet, and it's a clean sheet because it just came out of a plastic wrap directly from our linen supplier,
Right.
the guest psychologically doesn't know that.
Right.
So
Oh yeah.
swap it out, send it back for a credit, and put a new one on.
Yep.
You got to do that. Um, but if anybody's ever wondering, like what you're staying at, if you stay at a My Second Home, is that sheet clean? 1,000%, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, way above the industry standard, way above the hospitality industry standard. It is clean.
That's pretty cool.
Um, yeah, but then something that does for people that we manage for. So to describe us quickly,
Mm-hmm.
we're a done for you short-term rental management company.
Nice.
So you don't need to do anything except collect a monthly check.
Nice. Love that.
There's very little required of you with us. So you bring the property and say, "Hey, I want my property to make money." We'll make it make money for you.
Nice.
We even help with design and staging. So if people say, "Okay, I've got this house, I know it needs to be furnished in order to be a short-term rental.
Mm-hmm.
How do I do that?" I say, "Well, first of all, if you don't know where to start, then that's great because I will help you shop, I will help you
Nice.
stage, I'll help you do all that, and I do all that at cost. I don't
Cool.
charge or make any money off of it. The only way My Second Home makes money
Mm-hmm.
is from actually renting the places out, which is
Nice.
fair because that's the only time the homeowner makes money too.
Right. No, that's good
So
incentive.
exactly. So when the money starts coming in, that's when we actually start to make money, as does the homeowner. So they
Right.
keep 70% of everything that comes in and we keep 30.
Nice.
70% of nightly rent goes to them, 30% of nightly rent goes to us. And uh, for that, we do everything that's required. The housekeeping, the ongoing preventative maintenance. I
Mm-hmm.
might be getting ahead of myself here, but getting out of the conversational loop. So sorry about that.
It's all good.
But batteries constantly need replaced and smoke alarms
Mm-hmm.
and remote
Remotes.
controls, or people get angry. Um,
What? That never happens.
you,
Just kidding.
right? Never happens. You've got to have the air filter replaced all the time,
Yep.
especially in St. George where we started.
Uh-huh.
They get caked up quick with all the dirt and dust in the air here,
Yep.
and the AC units work extra hard. So you got to replace those on a monthly basis. You also have light bulbs that are constantly going out.
Mm-hmm.
And I take over new short-term rentals all the time. People come to us and say, "Hey, I just bought this place," or "Hey, I'm getting rid of my old management. Will you come manage it for me?" And I walk in, and I kid you not, there's active rentals. These are actively listed. Maybe a guest checked out 1 or 2 days ago,
Uh-huh.
and half the light bulbs in the house are out.
Oh, yuck.
Half.
Yeah.
So you're at the kitchen bar, and maybe you've got 5 or 6 lights across the thing, and you've
Yeah.
got 2 or 3 illuminated. The rest are out.
Jeez.
um, Same with the can lights in the kitchen. You go to the bathroom vanities, maybe they have like 1 or 2 on the ends, and then in the middle they're all out. And I'm like,
Right.
what are you guys doing?
Right.
And I've literally had people come to me and say, "Yeah, I had somebody managing my short-term rental, but I think I'm better off doing it myself." I say, "Well, why is that?" And they say, "Well, for example, this is a real story. They sent me a bill for replacing a light bulb once." I said, "Well, that's interesting. We do that for free, but couldn't have been much, right?" And they say, "No,
Yeah.
no, no. They charged me $75
Oh my
for
gosh.
just the most standard basic light bulb
Right.
out there. $75." And
Jeez.
the reason it costs so much, I think, this is my theory. I didn't get
Yeah.
into it too much. Is the short-term rental company didn't have their own staff, so they were hiring a local handyman who
Gotcha.
was also charging for his shopping trip to Home Depot,
Right.
charging for the light bulb
Upcharge.
itself,
Yep.
service charge, and then time to install it and everything. When you add it all up, the guy was probably running at $100 an hour. It
Yep.
probably came up to 75. But I've also more commonly heard bills for $50 per light
Right.
bulb, and
Oh.
I've heard that a lot, and that's insane. The
Yeah.
things cost a buck.
Right.
So I just do it, and I don't make the property owner worry about it at all.
Which
I
is
take
so
care of
cool.
all those expendable items. So the linens, we've got it. The air filters, the batteries, the light bulbs, we've got it. Unless you've got some kind of crazy light fixture that's high end that
Right.
has specialty bulbs that are $10 a piece, like we might charge you because we have to stock specially just for that light fixture that's just in your house. But all the
Gotcha.
standard range of stuff, we've got it,
That's so cool.
and you don't worry about it. And then I also recommend, as someone comes to me and says, "All right, well, what do we do? We want to set this place up,"
Mm-hmm.
and I'm helping them shop. I'm also going to advise them to be smart about their taxes.
Oh yeah.
Start an LLC, put this in the LLC, and put all the furniture that you purchase
Mm-hmm.
in that LLC, because that's a business expense and it's an asset, and you can depreciate that over 5 years, which is about the time that any resort, any hotel, it's starting to get long in the tooth anyway.
Right.
So you depreciate that furniture over 5 years. And then at year five, you've been saving up a small war chest. You're ready to deploy a new set of
Uh,
things that, things like couches, things that get sat on, ate on, tables,
yep.
couches, mattresses, definitely.
For
Um,
sure.
Lots of dressers and things, not always, but lots of them. They just get to that point, and you want to get them out so that you have a fresh looking place, you have fresh pictures, and it keeps renting well.
Right.
Because short term rentals, on average, earn anywhere from 1.5 to 3 times the monthly cash flows of
Mm-hmm.
their long term rental counterparts. So, same
Interesting.
property as a long termer
Yeah.
is earning far less. As a short termer, 1.5 to 3 times the cash flows.
Whoa.
So, you can definitely afford setting aside just a little bit extra for that furniture refresh to ensure that you're going to keep getting that over time.
Right.
And again, at the 5 year mark, we're not charging you for the redesign. We're not charging you for shopping. We're helping build all the furniture, and we're just doing it at cost,
Yeah.
right? We're not profiting from that, but we both profit mutually
Right.
from the additional income that comes into the property as a result of keeping it well designed and fresh and at the top of the market.
Right. Keep
But
earning
then,
top dollar.
exactly. But then you're always at the top of your comps list too.
Right.
So something that we do that helps agents a lot, because agents always get the same question, because these things are popular enough now. People ask agents, they say, how much could this property make as a short term rental?
Uh-huh.
Uh, what would be a good nightly rate in this neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the agent's there to know what the home should be priced at
Yep.
against the other comps in the area. They don't know the usual rate of hotel rooms in the area,
Right.
just like they're not going to know the usual rate of short-term rentals. They can guess, they can look up on Airbnb, but that's not what real estate agents are for.
Right.
So we show up for real estate agents by giving them a simple pro forma on any property that their client's interested in. They say, hey, this guy really wants to buy this place. First of all, can they legally do it here?
Yeah.
So we're going to respond with that. And then second of all, how much is it going to make? Is it really worth his time, or is it better as a long termer? Because there
Gotcha.
are those that are better as long termers, or they're illegal. So you face
Fair.
additional risk.
Yeah.
So we're going to be honest. We're going to say, uh, yes, this one is better as a short termer. Here's how much it's going to make, and yes, it's legal. So the agent can then share that with their client, and then the sooner the client involves us in that process,
Mm-hmm.
and we become their property manager,
Mm-hmm.
the sooner we can help them, because we can help with, again, the staging, the design, sourcing the furniture. We're cross shopping like 5 to 10 stores at all times to make sure
Cool.
we're getting the best absolute deal. And then you got a property that's out there crushing it.
That's
And
awesome.
I think that's what everybody wants.
Right, for sure. Let me kind of run that back a little bit just so I can make sure, so I can
Please
reiterate it,
do.
I
I'm
guess, for
sure
our
I missed a
staff.
lot.
So, so for like our realtors that are on our staff that are listening, um, what you guys are offering is really like a tool in our handbag that we can say to our clients, hey, if we're going to go down this road of purchasing this property, we can have you kind of partner with us to show this would be the nightly rentals. This is even if it's legal, because we don't advise any of that. Like us as realtors, I'm always saying, if you're going to go down the short term rental road, I can't advise you on that. I'll point you in the right direction, but I just don't have those tools. But now with you partnering with us on that front is huge, because I have a lot of investors in my back pocket that are always like, "Hey, we want to buy short-term rentals," and I'm like, "Well, one, we don't manage those, so I can't really help you there, and number two, I don't really advise on if this is going to be a cash flowing property either." So I'm always interested in finding the right person for the right information, and so I'm stoked that we kind of run into each other and that you can
Yeah,
offer
we've
that
got that.
to us.
We've
That's so
got that
cool.
100%.
Yeah, dude, I'm loving this. Real quick on the front of like, because I know we've been talking about the company as a whole and then what you kind of offer and everything that's all included with that. And plus, one of my favorite pieces that you did touch on was the done for you aspect, which in my opinion, that gives me all my time back. And especially like my investors and stuff, they can get all their free time back and it's all done for them. So they just literally can have somebody that is knowledgeable for one, has experience, and then something that we had touched on earlier is that you guys are really broadening and growing rapidly, which shows us a couple things. One, you have really high standards, and in my opinion, service beats everything, right? Like we're always concerned about price, but service matched up with that price is phenomenal in my opinion. And then number two, people are just trusting you with more and more business, which is like that's like how you know you're doing an awesome job. So I'm stoked about that. Um, anyway, would you just kind of run us through just the offer as a whole for the people that are here, or the people that will be listening? Is it just 30%, or is it some other like? Do you have any like tiered progression? Or kind of like walk us through what the cost looks like.
Yeah. So I could tell as you were saying that there's so many key little things that I missed. So we'll just I'll leave it open to questioning and wherever the
Sweet.
conversation really flows. And that's the beauty of the podcast platform is that
Oh
it can just
yeah.
be a conversation. And if there needs to be a follow up for questions, then I'm more than happy for that.
Cool.
Um, but basically, what we're offering is, like you said, that done for you service. We're hospitality experts. And so that's where we focus. We really stay in our lane with that. We don't pretend to be real estate agents
Nice.
and know how to, kind of sell the properties or make offers or anything like that. We leave that to the pros, like you
Thank you.
guys at Fitness Realty. And we focus on the nightly price, the dynamic pricing, getting the perfect point between occupancy and nightly rate. So we
Nice.
can not leave money on the table,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, which, I mean, if you charge too little, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. If you charge too much, you're leaving all your money on the table because your place is empty and you charge too much. So
Right.
there's no point in vanity pricing.
Yeah, it's so
We're
true.
also vetting all the guests. We have multiple systems that do that, whether that's through Airbnb or VRBO. There's all kind of rating systems to figure out who people are, and then we
Mm-hmm.
also have insurance guarantees, travelers insurance, all these things on multiple levels to make sure that nothing goes wrong with the property or with the guest. And if anything ever does go awry,
Mm-hmm.
um, it has a couple times, but very rarely have negative things ever happen. We're always able to get right on top of it,
Nice.
get any damage repaired, and the owner actually comes out with a net positive because they get recompensed so much for everything that went wrong. So
Gotcha.
it's almost like you want the parties to happen at your house. You really don't, but if you logically looked at only the dollars and how we're able to recoup, you
Uh-huh.
almost want those bad things to happen because you end up in a net positive.
Interesting.
Um, but never fear, we don't allow for that. If anything's ever going down, and this is another beauty of short-term rentals, if you have a bad homeowner who's a
Mm-hmm.
neighbor or a bad renter who's a
Mm-hmm.
neighbor, the only way you're going to get them out is through the legal system. There
Right.
might have to be a warrant, they have to be evicted, there has to be all this kind of stuff that goes on before you can get rid of that terrible situation.
Uh-huh.
Since we operate under innkeeper's laws in the short-term space,
Uh-huh.
if there's somebody disobeying the rules, being a bad neighbor, disrupting the neighborhood, throwing parties and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I can have them out within the hour.
Oh, wow.
I go down, I boot them, they're gone, and it's a done deal.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I've very rarely had any incidents at my properties. And when there has been any sort of incident at all, we just, quickly put an end to it, and the neighborhood stays happy.
Right.
All the kids stay safe, and the neighbors stay happy.
Man, that's so
All right, so
cool.
back into the package. I mean, it's like being in a hotel. The hotel staff doesn't just allow people to put holes in the walls all night long,
Right.
and neither should we.
Right.
And there's a lot of complaints about that in our industry, but we've seen very few of them. And the reason for that is because we're a professional hospitality company
Mm-hmm.
rather than just, Joe and Bob, who, no offense if those are your names,
Right.
try to
Sorry,
throw
Joe.
together some Airbnb operation. He's on the team.
Right.
Uh, yeah, so some Airbnb because we could get a little bit more cash flow, but then it's a side hustle and
Right.
all that. See, and that's the DIY side of it. Now, I respect the hustle, and I wish the best for those people, but I'm coming from a completely different angle. So if
Mm-hmm.
it's someone's first real estate property and they're just trying to figure it out and they're trying to make a little bit extra cash because they have more time
Mm-hmm.
than they do money, then those people, like, if that's what you need to do is use your time cleaning your own place and running your own Airbnb, then power to you, and I
Yeah.
hope it goes really well. But where my head is at is regulations are coming,
Mm-hmm.
things are going to be pushed to where they're in line with hotels and resorts, and guest safety is paramount.
Right.
And on top of that, neighborhood safety is paramount. So when you start to combine all that, it really makes it hard over the long term for those DIY type of things to
Mm-hmm.
continue happening. And that's where, like, the done for you, this is professionally done. You're bringing your portfolio to me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
helping you convert that portfolio. And now you have much higher cash flowing properties, still without any worries because I'm on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And um, again, bringing that professional hospitality aspect into it
Mm-hmm.
where you're not worried about, all right, what cleaners are being used? Are the linens clean enough? Uh, is their maintenance crew doing their job? Like, is there
Right.
paint chipping off the walls? Like, I've seen so many countless places with just, filthy baseboards, filthy, the tops of the fans, the tops of the
Yep.
doorways, the tops of everything, M&Ms under couch cushions. Like, because I stay at Airbnbs all the time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as I travel around, and I'm constantly seeing all these things that, my people would be getting a very angry message if I caught half these things,
Right.
and it's so far below the standard. But again, power to the small guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what I want for the small guy is for him to become a big guy. So
Mm-hmm.
if that small guy entrusts me um, with his property,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to manage that so he can focus on working with someone like Fitness Realty to find the next deal and grow his portfolio. And if
Right.
I'm doing my job right, then he's netting more, or she, this property owner, is netting more with me
Mm-hmm.
than they did without me.
Right.
So I make them so much more through my dynamic pricing and my professionalism and everything else that I do
Right.
than they could have made as an individual Airbnb host, that my 30% fee becomes irrelevant
Right. Well, and that's something
because you're
that
making more than you could have made.
right. Oh yeah, for sure. And that's something that we talk about all the time in our industry is the value add because you can let's be honest, a person in our industry can go out and try to sell their own home, but there are a lot of risks with that, right? And I'm always very respectful
Mm-hmm.
of that. Like, go ahead if you want to, but that's something that we bring in our industry is the professionalism, like you were talking about, the amount of experience that you guys have to foresee things that you have to learn it the hard way typically. But if you have somebody that's in your corner like you, managing it with the professionalism and high standards, then you can actually forego so many of the things that could have been costly. And some of that stuff is stuff that like takes people out of the market completely because they're like, I don't even want to do this. And then it's like, well, it was the experience that you had that was a bad experience when you could have had a sweet, awesome experience. And yeah, it has a cost, but what's that cost? You know, like what's being brought back in that cost. So I'm super excited about that. I think you really have a really good product. I'm excited to start pumping some business your way, um, and I just love how that. I love how you talk from experience, right?
Yeah,
Um, in my business,
I've
that's
definitely gotten
crucial.
dirty doing this,
Right.
but it's fun, and I've got a solid team around me now that makes it possible. Um, yeah, I want to say that just to the product overall, it's professional, it's hospitality focused, it's 30% of gross nightly rents. The owner keeps 70% of gross nightly rents. A lot of our competitions down here in St. George, for example, is going up to 35 and even 40%. And
Oh
I don't
wow.
understand why. I'm just increasing rent prices as the market allows and
Hmm.
increasing occupancy. And then I'll be paid.
Yeah.
I don't need to take it more from the owner. Again, my goal is for them to make more with me than they
Right.
could have made without me,
Yeah.
not strong arm them into having to pay an additional fee. And I make that work very well at 30%, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then my goal is for them to be able to grow their portfolio and go back to the real estate agent that brought them to us and say, "Hey, I'm ready for my next deal. Hey, I'm ready to 1031 this. Hey,
Right.
let's do this. Hey, let's do this," and just expand that. And I want to enable the portfolio expansion going back to kind of like the core of who I am, like not
Hmm.
only becoming successful myself over my life, and I feel very successful at this point. So I'm fine, but making other people around me successful. Now that homeowner gets to grow their portfolio.
Hmm.
They're a legitimate investor, or that real estate agent who decided to start getting their first few investments. Now they're a major investor.
Right.
One of the things I asked myself was I asked, how do I help a single mother who's a housekeeper? Because I've worked with a lot of them at this point.
Hmm.
Single mother who's a housekeeper who doesn't have very much education, who doesn't really have skills beyond housekeeping, who's a wonderful lady, has a wonderful heart and a lot of street smarts, but
Hmm.
no one's really going to give her a chance, say, in the higher corporate world or here or there or anywhere. And she doesn't have time to even worry about that because she's a single mom. She's just trying to
Hmm.
put food in their mouths. How do I help her become a millionaire and getting control of her own life?
Hmm.
And the answer for me was two parts. Um, One, by getting my company to the place where I could give people stock as part of their compensation program,
Cool.
which is currently underway. I really care about taking care of my people. They're everything to me. My team
Nice.
is. Um, and then two was real estate
Solid.
because I think more people are millionaires through real estate in the United States, at least. I think
Hmm.
more people are millionaires through real estate than any other single field. I think more than two times over.
Yep.
Like it's twice as big as all the other ways of becoming a millionaire combined is through real estate.
Yep.
Just getting something, even if you bought it imperfectly, building equity in it, and then without you really like noticing it, you could have a situation where we've had all over the state recently where values went up so fast,
Yep.
people were suddenly sitting on one, two, 300,000 or more in equity in your average home
Hmm.
that they weren't just 1 to 2 years before that. You
Right.
know, it's like having. Meanwhile, a lot of these people are on like a $40,000 a year income,
Hmm.
and their home alone made them like a decade worth
Right.
of work,
Yep.
right? And so I'm looking at that and I go, all right, if I can help them figure out a way to fix their credit, save up enough money, and maybe make just enough money to qualify for their first FHA loan. And I
Mm-hmm.
teach them how to do it the right way, do a little bit of value add. And
Mm-hmm.
then, after a year, you know, rent it out, go to your next one,
Yep.
refi a little bit, and then go to the next one. Before you know it, this person in less than 10 years, without ever being anything more than a housekeeper for their day job,
Mm-hmm.
is now an independent millionaire and owes nothing to anybody and
Right.
has control of their life. And I'm like, so I want to create that with any of my people who will listen
Yep.
and heed my advice and open that pathway to them. And then further down the line to those who already have investment money, who are already savvy with real estate, help
Mm-hmm.
them expand their portfolios to levels they never dreamed possible. Much of it enabled by the cash flows that are available in this industry. Deals that before would have barely been attractive are now very attractive,
Right.
so long as they're legal,
Exactly.
and and they're able to just grow that their cash on cash returns, like on some properties that I've seen, are sometimes as high as 50%
Oh
or
wow.
more. Like I don't want to you know, give anybody those cartoon eyes where the wolf sees like the hearts or like the dollar signs or
Right.
something. But if you're good at, calculating out your pro formas and looking at your cash on cash, and you can get decent interest rates on stuff from your go-to lender,
Mm-hmm.
if you're looking at the right property, it'll blow your mind. You're not talking down at like a 12% or 14%
Right.
or anything like that. You're talking 50 plus in some cases.
Which is
It just
huge.
gets crazy. But the best thing I can say for that is start running the numbers yourself. Start looking at deals. Start talking to Fitness Realty and saying, "Hey, I'm interested in this. I'm interested in that." Start talking to us. Run the addresses by us. All I need is the address and how many bedrooms and bathrooms it has. I'm going to look at the comps in the area that are already operating, see what they've done historically, look at
Mm-hmm.
their future books, see what's coming through, and then we'll give you back those numbers of what we're seeing happening in the area, and then you can run that against maybe your typical pro forma when you're underwriting a property, and go, okay, well, instead of um, equating for like a 5% vacancy and this much rent per month,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to look at the average rental revenue, you know, minus the management fee, which most people calculate for an 8% management fee anyway.
Right.
And and the occupancy is probably something that, or the vacancy is something you'll remove entirely, because now you're looking at the average daily rate instead.
Mm.
And then once you plug that in, it gets nuts.
Right. No, I'm
So
excited
so
about
so
that.
throw addresses at us, throw projects at us, throw entire portfolios at us. We'll run all the numbers that we can for you and feed them back. And if they look good, they look attractive, then make us your property manager.
Right.
Let's let's get involved, because if we can get involved before you even buy your first piece of furniture,
Mm-hmm.
even before you sign the deal to fully close on the property, if you're at least having a conversation with us,
Mm-hmm.
then not only are you going to save more in the short term, but you're going to make more in the long term, because we know how to set it up properly
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man.
and run it properly.
Right,
Yeah, we
dude.
and the final thing on individual homes, like if we're doing an entire development, or a large portfolio,
Mm-hmm.
this changes a little bit. But if you only have one or two properties and just want to get something going, then our contracts are only 30 days at a time. And
Nice.
the reason for that is we want you to have the confidence that we're trying to earn your business. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like we're doing your property justice, and you're worried about that investment not panning out, then you always have the ability to say, "Hey, guys, we tried this. It's not working for me.
Mm-hmm.
I need to go long term rent my property so that it makes money, so I don't default on this or something." Like, I don't foresee that happening,
Right.
and that's part of why I can confidently offer that. Um, but we want to make sure that people know that our desire, despite the shorter term contracts, is to be your business partner for life for the
Yeah.
next 20, 30 plus years. We want to manage your properties for you, and we want to see you acquire as many places as you can without ever having to worry about a thing.
Right. No, that's huge. Tyson, man, you are awesome. I really just have enjoyed chatting with you, listening to you, and I know that our listeners have gotten a ton of feedback from you about your personality, your lifestyle, and just being able to really connect with you. So I'm excited about that. I just want to say how grateful I am to you and what your service you're offering. I'm excited that we ran into each other at the home show. I'm excited to like get this going, and I'm just very grateful. So thank you.
Thanks, you too, sincerely.
Okay, awesome. Well, for
And,
all of
and I
our
look
listeners
forward
out
to
there,
more conversations that are less one-sided. I know this one was a lot about me, but open conversations, even Q&As, but we're open to all of it. It's
sweet.
fun.
No, that'll be awesome. For all of our listeners and everybody, Tyson's information is going to be down below or onto the side or whatever that is. And so feel free to reach out to him. If you are looking to get into a property, of course, we will always help you start looking at it, and then we'll partner up with Tyson if you're going to go down the short-term rental process, of course. So love you guys, and we'll see y'all next time. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for supporting us. We'll see you next time, and we love you. Later.